This is an exhibit I've been taking across the country for the past 2 years. And recently it was in Ferguson a couple of months ago, and before that it was in Ellensburg, Washington. And there were no restrictions on the show at all. It was welcomed by the community, and it created a lot of community dialogue around race and history of power in America. Taking it to Ellensburg, Washington is a place where the Klan has been actively recruiting, and took it to Ferguson, Missouri, and we know Ferguson is put on the map for a particular reason. So I picked those places in York. There's a long history there that's not being talked about that I would like to engage more with the people about. And I thought an institution of higher education would be one of the best places to have that dialogue, and it has been. The students have been amazing. They've been very thoughtful in their discussion, and they tell me that it sparked a lot of conversation for them, and this enlightened them with a lot of information around history. And that's, I think, for me as an artist, that's my responsibility. I'm not a commercial artist that's looking to make things to sell. I don't work with a gallery to sell stuff, to capitalize, because I think the struggle is for sale in many areas, and I'm not one of those vendors. I created this show several years ago, long before this, because I created the show because I was feeling we need to pay more attention to this aspects of history. And I hate to say, I was right, but I was right like many artists are, because many artists are ahead of the curve. The show is repeating from the past. That's why it's called Rewind. So it's about the past and things repeating itself over and over again, certain aspects of history. And I have a 30-page newspaper that I give out. I've given out more than 10,000 copies of it from various shows, and it talks about Plessy versus Ferguson. It talks about history of slavery, current state of incarceration, and how we got here. It's a guide to the different pieces in the show that tells you the history of the first wave of the Klan, started by Nathan Bedford Forrest in 1865 to the 1920s we just talked about, where it's 45 million members, 15% of the population, to the third wave during the civil rights era, and current day. It talks about the lesser known people. I don't have a piece about Martin Luther King, but I do have pieces about Medgar Evers, the Alabama church bombing, the 4 black girls that were killed in the church. So there's so many people we don't know about that I want to make known, and that includes the lynching images. On display in the show are also lynching postcards, slave branding irons that were used for people to brand their property, to mark their territory. And shackles. These are actual objects. The real issue that I'm realizing after making, over 50 Klan robes is not this is white supremacy of, the Klan movement or the alt-right. It's really white supremacy and a social-economic disparity in wealth in our country. When people are promoting white supremacy, they want to say it's because one group is smarter or that they work harder, and they don't understand the systemic and structural racism and things that are in place that limit possibilities and access to things for one group over another group.